for Caitlin Clark to not be the face of the league, even though it directly benefits them for her to be. The day Caitlin Clark isn't the face of the league is the day the NBA goes back to normalcy, aka irrelevancy.
The player that's most likely to launch a successful company is who?
Ooh. Honestly, I'm going to say Paige Beckers. She knows what to say. She's genuine. If she put her mind to wanting to start a business and a brand, she'd nail it.
Nneka Ogwumike. She's already been able to handle every business aspect of the league. So Nneka.
Sometimes people forget, I have feelings. I'm a real individual. I feel things and I have emotions and I get emotional and I get frustrated and I get sad and I get upset. I get happy. I get joyful. And I feel and experience all that stuff. But at the same time, I have really thick skin. And I think also I always try to remind myself is social media is not always reality. And that is really lost on people. And I think we get so down a rabbit hole all the time that you read all these things and you're like, oh, that has to be true. Or that has to be what people really think of me. Or that has to be what, the young girl thinks of me that's showing up. That's not true. The young girls and the young boys, they absolutely love the way you play. They love the way you care.
A room full of WNBA analysts breaking down the league's future, growth, buzz, momentum for next season. All the right buzzwords. But here's the wild part. Caitlin Clark's name never came up. Not a single mention. You could sit through that whole conversation and think the biggest name in women's basketball had nothing to do with the season at all, even though she's the reason half the cameras are even pointed at the court.
WNBA, they just keep driving into a wall at full speed with Caitlin Clark. They now have a commemorative poster of 30 years of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's not on it. And it's not just an ode to the veterans that started the league. Paige Beckers and Angel Reese are on it. And Caitlin Clark's not. When she broke into the league, you moved her road games to bigger arenas to accommodate the fans, and she's not on the 30-year poster. Recently there were TV games. Hers got double the rating of Asia Wilson, the best player in the league, the 3-time champ and the 4-time MVP. Double the rating. This is a paranoid, weird, insular...
The real story here. Think about it. These are people whose whole job is covering this league. And in a full-length talk about where the WNBA stands, they leave out the one name pulling in record crowds. That's not a memory slip. That's a choice. Nobody forgets the player who smashed a viewership record that stood for almost 3 decades. She only gets left out when saying her name means giving credit someone doesn't want to hand over.
Phenomenon has just been crazy, right? I feel a little bit, I guess, empathetic for her because she didn't ask for any of this. She just wants the ball, right? She didn't ask for any of this stuff. I know that there's a lot of people that are frustrated that she doesn't speak more about some of the issues, that have nothing to do with basketball, by the way. And that's the unfortunate part for her. I had the opportunity to call on her games a couple weeks ago. She's ridiculous. When you watch some of the shots she pulls and how she operates.
Now here's where it gets interesting. There's a bigger story bubbling under the surface, and it's been building quietly for months now. Word is WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is on her way out once this season ends. And a big part of why traces right back to how she handled the Caitlin Clark situation from day one. Sponsors wanted her front and center. TV partners wanted her front and center. But Engelbert, maybe worried about upsetting the league's veteran players, maybe just misreading what fans actually wanted, spent 2 years underselling the biggest commercial draw this league has ever seen.
There's actually a report that came out today that says that the 2026 season will be Cathy's last season. Alexa Philippou said conversations with more than 20 stakeholders in and around the WNBA offer a general belief that for as much business growth as Cathy Engelbert has overseen, she's not the right person to navigate the demands of the league, the demands that the league currently faces, and what its stakeholders now need. I do think Cathy thinks, well, she's done her job, she's got us financially set up in the right way. It's the other pieces that we're talking about. Jeff Hunt, who is a specialist in crisis and reputation management, who has previously worked with the MLB, ATP, WTA, the PGA Tour, he said the hole has just gotten so deep. She's in a place now where I don't really know what she does. Others said that she had a failure to develop sufficient relationship equity. Multiple find it curious she hasn't prioritized developing a closer relationship.
Think about it. You've got players and commentators who spent years acting like Clark had nothing to do with all those extra cameras suddenly showing up at their games. And now they're about to watch the very commissioner who let that attitude slide get pushed out the door. Once Engelbert's gone, the excuses go with her. Whoever takes that office next is stepping into a league that badly needs money and badly needs eyeballs. And there's exactly one player who's already proven, over and over, on record, that she can deliver both at a level nobody else in this league's history has ever touched.
I'm so blessed to be at the helm of this league during this incredible hyper-growth period. So blessed that these players are putting the product on the court they are every night, that they stand for the values that the W has long sought for. So I will just continue to, do my job, execute the strategy because it has been working, make sure we listen to the players, communicate with the players. And so absolutely just love this league and blessed to have had the career I had before and the career I...
Here's something strange happening in real time. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Watch enough interviews with WNBA analysts these days, and you'll catch a pattern. They'll talk for 20 straight minutes about the league's growth, its momentum, its future, and somehow never say her name. Not once. Caitlin Clark, the player who broke a viewership record that had stood for almost 30 years, just quietly missing from the conversation, like she had nothing to do with any of it. And that's not an accident. People whose entire career is built on covering this league don't forget the biggest story in it. That's a choice. And once you understand why, the whole picture starts making a lot more sense. Here's what's actually going on behind the curtain. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is reportedly on her way out once this season wraps up, and a big chunk of that story traces straight back to how she's handled the Clark situation since day one. Sponsors wanted her front and center. TV networks wanted her front and center. But Engelbert, whether she was scared of upsetting the league's veteran core or just badly misjudged what fans actually wanted, spent 2 years underselling the single biggest commercial engine women's basketball has ever had. And look, this isn't really about basketball skill anymore, even though the skill speaks for itself. This is about who gets to be the face the whole league builds itself around going forward. And once you strip the emotion out of it, the math is almost embarrassingly simple. Clark's games pull numbers no player in league history has ever touched. Not in any past era. Not during any of the so-called golden generations people love bringing up for comparison. A brand new commissioner walking in with a mandate to fix the league's finances isn't going to spend another season pretending that reality doesn't exist just to keep a handful of unhappy veterans comfortable. And here's the thing, the demand hasn't gone anywhere. Every time she has a big night, it explodes across social media. Headlines pop up saying the college version of her is back. And people who haven't watched women's basketball in years suddenly remember exactly why they used to tune in. They remember the deep threes from the logo. They remember the ridiculous stat lines. And just like that, they're back in front of the TV. Clark herself has talked about this, and she hasn't softened any of it. She's openly frustrated by how often people choose to paint her as some manufactured hype machine, propped up purely by media attention, while quietly ignoring how good she actually is once the ball is live. People love bringing up the jersey sales, the sold-out arenas, the ticket demand wherever she plays, but they conveniently skip past the actual basketball, the passing that's rewriting the assist record books, the shooting range that forces entire defenses to change their game plan, the record-breaking numbers permanently sitting in the books with her name on them. She said flat out that there's a false picture painted of who she is. She understands writers and commentators have a job to do, but she's also made it clear that doesn't give anyone the right to make character judgments about someone they've never even spoken to. Basketball is her job too. It's been her dream since childhood, and no amount of unfair narrative is going to take that joy away from her, because her goal has always been simple: win championships and help her team get there. And you can hear real exhaustion in her voice whenever this topic comes up. Not anger, more disbelief that this is even still a conversation 3 years into her career, after everything that's already happened on and off the court. Because the numbers aren't hidden. She's the one producing stat lines nobody else in league history has ever managed in a single game. She's the one filling arenas on the road that used to struggle to sell a quarter of their seats on a random weekday before she ever walked in. Ignoring that at this point takes real, deliberate effort. But that effort isn't going to hold up much longer. Once she's officially recognized as the face of the league, and let's be honest, she already functionally is one whether people admit it publicly or not. Ignoring her stops being an option. Because sponsors, broadcast partners, and the league's own marketing machine are going to build everything around her, whether certain players are thrilled about it or not. You can complain about the coverage behind closed doors all you want. You cannot out-argue a signed broadcast deal worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's honestly kind of wild watching how much of a lightning rod she's become. Her name gets pulled into arguments about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with basketball, politics, identity, you name it, as if she's turned into some kind of universal talking point for whatever argument someone wants to make. And through all of it, she's never made it about race, never used any of it as an excuse. All she's ever said is simple. She plays physical, she takes contact, and she wants the calls that come with that. That's it. What's genuinely strange to watch is how visible some of the resentment toward her has become. Analysts who cover this league every day, players who share locker rooms and travel with each other across different teams, a noticeable number of them seem to carry real, visible frustration toward a 20-something who, by almost any business measure, has done more for their paychecks than anyone else in the league right now. And that's not a hot take. Franchise values have jumped. Media rights deals have exploded into numbers nobody predicted 5 years ago, and attendance across the entire league, not just her home market, has climbed steadily since she arrived. And the response from a chunk of her peers has mostly been cold silence, instead of anything close to gratitude. This isn't some unique phenomenon either. You see it in other sports too. Whenever one athlete's popularity outpaces the collective mood of the locker room, you get friction. You get subtweets. You get the numbers don't tell the whole story, talking points from people who otherwise never bring up nuance unless it happens to help their case. Most sports eventually move past that friction because the money speaks louder than the ego. Basketball, it seems, is taking its sweet time getting there. And to be fair, nobody serious is saying these veteran players haven't earned respect through their own careers. Championships mean something. MVPs mean something. There are genuinely great players in this league who put in years of grinding work with a fraction of the attention Clark got in her rookie season alone. That frustration is human, even if it's misplaced. But understanding where it comes from doesn't mean the business side of professional sports stops existing. Being the best player on the floor and being the face of an entire league have never meant the same thing, in any sport, ever. And pretending otherwise doesn't change how television contracts actually get negotiated. Look at the business side for a second, because the numbers speak louder than any locker room complaint ever could. Her games have consistently pulled the highest ratings this league has posted in decades. Crowds that dwarf what most matchups drew even 5 years ago. Sponsors aren't chasing championship rings when they sign these deals. They're chasing attention. And right now, nobody else in this league is remotely close to delivering that kind of attention at her scale. So when Engelbert eventually steps down and fresh leadership takes over, whoever walks into that office is inheriting a completely different set of priorities. The new mandate is growth, revenue, and keeping this season's momentum rolling straight into the next one. And there's really only one proven engine already sitting there, already delivering exactly that, month after month. There's also a generational gap quietly sitting underneath all of this that doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of the players who built their names before the streaming era did it the slow way. Box scores, championship runs, years of grinding for any kind of following, with almost no national spotlight along the way. Clark skipped that slow climb entirely because college basketball, thanks to March Madness and national television, had already made her a household name before she ever set foot on a WNBA court. That built-in head start is a big part of why this whole situation feels sudden to some of her peers and uncomfortable to sit with. But sudden doesn't mean undeserved. This league needed a jolt badly, and it got one bigger than almost anyone expected. Pretending that jolt should have been spread evenly across a dozen players who weren't generating anywhere near the same attention just isn't how sports business has ever worked, in any era, anywhere. Nobody complained when Tiger Woods carried golf's ratings on his back for over a decade. Nobody seriously argued Tom Brady shouldn't be the face of football just because other quarterbacks also won plenty of games during his run. That's simply what happens when one person's presence moves numbers nobody else in the building can move. The truth hiding beneath all the noise. Once this season ends and new leadership steps in, the quiet pushback from certain players and commentators is going to crash straight into a business reality that doesn't care about hurt feelings. Sponsors want her everywhere. Networks want her everywhere. Fans who ignored this league 2 years ago now show up weekly because of her. That doesn't reverse just because some people wish things stayed the same. Fighting it changes nothing. It only makes the gap between perception and reality more obvious. Caitlin Clark isn't chasing approval. She's just producing night after night, letting results speak. And the audience already made its choice.